This is AC Starlord, and welcome back to my vlog. Also, this is on YouTube as well. Um, this is going to be an upcoming combo coming out pretty soon here called Nightmare Spider-Man, and I called it. I made a video and I had to delete it because I call it Nightmare, not Midnight Spider-Man. Uh, so this is going to be their all new series coming out pretty soon here, and their answer to Absolute from Marvel, from DC, and Marvel's also going to do it with X-Men Midnight, X-Men where they're vampires, and then Midnight Fantastic Four. But I mean, they're digging into the horror aspect of things and digging into this genre. And as you can see, this whole horror graphic Rotus spider on his chest, actually grabbing onto his chest, and that's what it looks like. So the rumors are that this young man goes to the laboratory and they do some tests on him and they do some weird things to him and put the spider on his chest and either he's gonna and then he has like go through surgery, so he has this cool mask, this black mask with like red eye with black goggles and red gloves and some of that. And we don't know if he's going to fight crime or be a bad guy, but that's all we know is something happens to him at this lab and he gets developed these spider powers and some of that. So Spider-Man Nightmare is going to be different than most things, and they're digging into the um, horror kind of aspect of things, like a horror movie and everything like that, and that kind of vibe. I wouldn't say absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, or um. or um absolute Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and Flash. Said Wonder Woman, she's in hell, but said Wonder Woman that she's from hell, and absolute Green Arrow has a bow and arrow that's like two machetes that's killing people off like Michael Myers and Freddy or Jason. Um, So besides that, every other character is not based in the horror genre. There's just a different outlook of our favorite DC characters. Now, this is a different outlook for your favorite Marvel characters. I'm excited for Nightmare of Spider-Man and X-Men because X-Men are vampires and they're still mutants, but they're vampires. And Spider-Man here is going to be completely different because they have one that's already a horror movie. I mean, a horror book, not a horror movie, a horror book of Spider-Man. I forgot the title of it, but I do have it. And it was in there, but now they're actually digging into the horror aspect of Marvel. And I know they have like what's it called? Underworld characters or dark characters like Moon Knight and Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda. They have um, Ghost Rider, Blade, and Blade and everything like that. But this is a different outlook. They're actually going to dig into horror as horror, what horror is, to scare and frighten you and get you on the edge of your seat. And I think this is a good idea because Absolute is just a different look of all the characters that we do know from DC and just have a different look at things. Now, Marvel doing this. Hopefully, this is a good seller because Absolute is their top seller. Batman, any Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. All the absolutes are their top seller, but Batman's their top seller of absolute. So let's hope Midnight Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and X-Men are their top sellers too, because I mean, if you want to try to beat out absolute and this is your answer to absolute, you have to be a banger of a thing. But for me, I'm definitely picking this up because this weird looking, alien looking spider draws me in, and it's grotesque and ugly looking, and it grabs all through his body. There's that one time, kind of the spider kind of reminds me of a face hugger, and the face hugger was on Miles Morales' suit and Aliens versus Avengers, but the face hugger was also talking to him. But that's a different horror, uh, you know, franchise. But you can see what I'm talking about because it's a horror franchise. Aliens is a horror franchise. It started like that and then went to action, but it's still a horror franchise. But horror in Marvel has never been kind of. I mean, they have some books and some of that, like the mystical characters, like I said, but and like Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, all those other characters that do those mystical things, but they never ever did a horror thing with straight horror. They did comedy, they did action, they put drama, comedy, action in their comic books. Never put any horror things in there. I think that's great because some people like to read horror comic books or watch horror movies, and this will bring out the audience for that. Just like me, like how I like those things. It brings out that audience. Bringing out that audience would be really great because I would love to see this go into a different storyline instead of having the same Spider-Man and Spider-Man. Like right now, currently for Spider-Man, they have Death Spiral, and then I need to pick that up. But they also have um, A Long Way Home, which is a new one they have right now, and then before that. They have this finished Ultimate Spider-Man series, and then they have Venom as Mary Jane. So like that's not really much of a thing. That's really what I want to read, but I'm hoping to read something fun right here. Spider-Man's one of my favorite characters, but I mean the comics these days are just I haven't really picked one up, and I can't wait to read this. Also in news, while I'm talking about brand new comic books, um. Predator already did a Predator versus Spider-Man comic book, which is good. And they're kind of in the horror. Predator's kind of in the horror aspect and action a little bit. Um, you have Predator versus Punisher, and that's going to be kind of cool. While we're talking about new comic books coming out, Punisher and Predator are going to have a comic as well coming out pretty soon, and that's going to be great because you have already had Predator versus Wolverine. Predator versus Spider-Man, not and then Predator versus the Marvel Universe, and then Predator now with Punisher, and why not have that added into the whole thing? But yeah, speaking of Midnight, that's all I know. But Midnight's gonna be great because I want this to scare me. I want this horrific spider on his chest to scare me, and scare me how he got on there, or just scare me in general how this going to work out because something called midnight, things can happen quickly at midnight or even past midnight at 3 a.m., they say. Um, but yeah, I don't believe in all that stuff, but things can happen, weird things can happen at midnight though. I didn't believe in that though. Just a little bit sometimes. Um, but this is also going to be on the vlog. We're also going to be on YouTube, so I want to say deuces for now. You know what to do on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and whatnot. So, deuces. See you on YouTube or in this vlog, which will also still be on YouTube.